Right then, mad bit of breaking news happening at the moment with United, with Cristiano Ronaldo. We all saw Ronaldo leave before the final whistle last night. What I don't believe we was aware of, and according to the reports, Laurie Whitwell amongst others, Chris Wheeler another one, coming out and saying that not only did Ronaldo walk off, he also refused to come on. Now, this is quite serious stuff. There's a lot at play here, and I've literally just walked in from a run, so I am trying to digest this as we try and figure out what's going on. So there's a few things at play here. One, the player power era at Manchester United is over. Erik Ten Hag has come in, and I'm sure all the managers that we've had post-Fergie wanted to have this level of power. But none of them have seemingly managed to deliver it in such a way. This is Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the most famous footballer on the earth. And Erik Ten Hag has gone, yeah, but I'm in charge. Sound. And you can't not love that. Erik Ten Hag is the boss at Manchester United, and it's what has been required. You know, there was question marks over Woodward's involvement in various things under the previous managers. Richard Arnold seemingly has got the one thing right, which is that he appoints a manager and then he lets that guy manage the team. If that's all Richard Arnold's involvement is, it's a step up from what we had under Ed Woodward, where I believe there was a little bit of undermining going on. Sir Alex Ferguson ran the club where nobody was bigger than the manager. When Roy Keane questioned him, he was gone. When David Beckham, celebrity, became too much, he was gone. No matter who you were, the club came first, the manager came second, the players came third. That's not necessarily been the case in the last 10 years, and that's arguably why we've wandered from the path a little bit in the last 10 years. Now, Sir Alex Ferguson had earned the right to do what he did and be nobody bigger than the manager. But he also came in and broke up the drinking culture, got rid of a lot of huge names, the likes of Norman Whiteside and Paul McGrath and other people that he deemed were too focused on the drinking culture and not enough on winning. Great players. And he was allowed to let these fan favourites, these top legendary players, to go because they weren't going to pull in a direction he wanted. Now, Erik Ten Hag has come in and dealt with monumentally huge decisions. The first one, dropping the captain. £80 million centre-half signing, club captain, cool story, take a seat, these are better. That alone could have been an absolute shitstorm. We've seen it in the past when it was time for Wayne Rooney to start spending some time on the bench. Though it doesn't necessarily get handled with the same sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? The same sort of efficiency. I think what he's done's nothing short of spectacular. Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't turn up for pre-season, doesn't get to play. Strachan, yeah, there's another one. Doesn't turn up for pre-season, doesn't get the opportunity to play. Someone's saying the stream resolution's mixed up. It's the same settings I always stream on. I don't know why it's doing that. We'll go into 1080, so try hitting 1080 on your player. The authority that he's displayed, taken even, because I don't necessarily know if it was given, he's took it. Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't show up for pre-season, and he sits him on the bench. And he spits his dummy out, and he sits him on the bench. And he asks him to come on, he says no, and he drops him from the squad. I think the message from this is, Erik Ten Hag is the boss. And you have to be playing well to make that stick, because if we would have lost yesterday, and we'd have lost at the weekend, and all of these things that have been going west, it's very easy it's very easy for people to side with Ronaldo. And I saw a lot of people still siding with Ronaldo over what happened in the last 24 hours, to be honest. And I think this is, I mean, there's probably more to come from this, I think. But in a nutshell, the statement from United, and the fact that there was a statement, I was 3 miles in on my run and got a statement. It just says club statement Cristiano Ronaldo, and I was like, wait a minute. I was half expecting to say he's terminated his contract. I really was. Read it, and it comes out. It says Cristiano will not be part of the Manchester United squad for Saturday's game against Chelsea. The rest of the squad is fully focused on preparing for that fixture. Wow. United have dealt with this swiftly, efficiently, and actually with the minimum of fuss. Now, I'm sure there's probably going to be 24 hours or so of fuss, but they've done such a good job. And Ten Hag has done such a good job in doing this. I know Ronaldo's upset. I know Ronaldo isn't happy about the lack of game time. But he hasn't grabbed the opportunity this season. If you look at the data for him this season, how many games he's scored in versus how many he's played, it's very, very interesting. It hasn't been good. He hasn't scored enough goals. I would be amazed if he's still here in January. I mean, there's 3 weeks or so left of games prior to this. 3 weeks or so left of games prior to the World Cup. If Anthony Martial becomes fit, United won't miss him. But if Anthony Martial isn't fit, United are going to struggle for someone to get up front. Notch says Ronaldo's upset, but he's also continuing to insist on $500,000 a week. Yep. Nemurium says if United have balls, then terminate the contract. This means stop selling merch with Ronaldo's name on as well. I actually think he doesn't need the money. I think if United offered him the termination now, he'd probably take it. I think he'd probably take it. I don't know what the script would be on registering him. I think it'd be very much like Roy Keane when he was sacked in the November. Was it? He was told he was able to sign straight away, which you are, but then can you be registered in a competition? That's different. Khalid says Arteta did this with Aubameyang. Ten Hag has stamped his authority similarly. Well done. JC says, Steve, who's the alternate striker if Martial and Rashford are out injured? That's the problem. That is the problem. You're looking then at Charlie McNeil, Hugo. And is that sensible? It's sink or swim time, isn't it? You got to think Garnacho could come in on one of the wings. You could try Anthony down the centre, something along those lines maybe. But it's an absolute crying shame that it's come to this. Cast your minds back to the 15 months or so ago when Ronaldo signed. Oh my God. The positivity around bringing him back. And he didn't, he got a lot of stick for things that weren't necessarily his fault last season, in my opinion. Like, he was given a lot of shit for stuff that wasn't necessarily his fault. He did score a lot of goals. He did do some pretty good stuff in the United shirt, but the back end of the season, when it was going west, not because of him, but when it was going west, he didn't look like he was digging in with the rest of the team. And he hasn't looked like he's part of the group this season. United, we got a limp through a few games towards the towards the World Cup, then we got a limp towards that and get through to January. If Ronaldo goes, we got to sign someone. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I think that you got to do that. View from the stand says, let him buy himself out. Don't terminate the contract. There's an economic value to keeping him, including during these moments of drama. If he wants out, he can fork up. Interesting. Lesser Andromeda says, if he signs for a Champions League team, I think they got to wait for the knockouts to sign him. Yeah, well, that's after Christmas anyway, so they can sign him in January. That would be no problem. The Dirty Urban Show says, do I think they're waiting on a Greenwood return? Listen, I've avoided commenting on this because there's literally laws against commenting on this, but seeing as though we're not talking about the case in any way here, I would be very, very, very surprised if Mason was able to hit the ground running. I would imagine, he hasn't been training with the first team. I know he's been doing training, and I know some people that have been training with him, and they said he still got it. He still looks sharp, but there's being Mason Greenwood sharp enough to play in the Premier League and Mason Greenwood good enough to play with Saturday League players sharp, and there's a difference in that. I guilty or innocent, I don't believe Mason Greenwood will return to be the player that we thought he was gonna be. That's my opinion on it. So United are gonna have to dip into the market. Ducky Momo's dad says Greenwood isn't coming back. Wesley said Greenwood is done too. Tim Collins says onward and upward. Louis says, have I seen he's not training with the first team? Oh yeah, so on Ronaldo, apparently he's also not going to be training with the first team and he will be training alone. Madness. Paul Murray says Ivan Toney. You're not the only one shouting for Ivan Toney. Abith in the comments there as well, also shouting for Toney. Panjak saying Vlahovic. Habiba says, have we got the funds for a proper signing? Now that is going to be a very interesting point, and one that I obviously don't have the answer to. I would speculate that if United are looking as good as we're looking at the moment, and Ten Hag can go and plead, listen, we don't have Greenwood, we're going to lose Ronaldo, look where we are, we're on the cusp of top four, or we're inside the top four, you give me a striker and we finish top four. Jonathan David, there's so many. There's so many strikers you could go and get, whether it's Gakpo, Sesko, whoever it is. You can go and get loads. Tribosh says you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. Time to see him go. Detwork says we're going to need another Larson. Don't see us getting anyone permanent. That could be a possibility. Ant says, Steve, when your whole squad is celebrating best performance for 10 years, yet none of them even ask where you are, you know your time is over. Good point. Tony is the one, says Louis. Mitrovic says Salma. That's not the craziest option. That really isn't the craziest option. Slash the second says, they say we have 70 million. I don't know where you're seeing that. I haven't seen that. And again, you don't know if that's true. There could be a loan. There could be options. There's a ton of different people that you could bring in. And ultimately, youngsters get their opportunities in moments of desperation. Ironically, Mason Greenwood was the one sort of youth player that was sort of progressed into the first team with what felt like a plan. Every other youth player is just like, listen, we're in the shit. In you go, son. See what you can do. And I think that's usually the way it goes with youngsters. But Mason's was sort of like, it felt planned, didn't it? Like the way they would drop him in. Super chat here from Chris Harris says, completely overshadowed that performance. Let's move on. Get Gakpo or Toney. That helps feed this momentum and get us over the line. Keep it up. Cheers, mate. Darpan says, maybe Bentner. Relax, my mate. David Martin says we can't rely on Marshall anymore. Sadly not. Shabineur says Mbappe. I mean, you're just going to swap one petulant forward for another petulant forward, aren't you? I mean, look what he's got going for him at PSG and he's not happy. I would want to be as far away as possible from Mbappe. Ed says, regardless of the situation, I'm tired of both strikers. I want 3 new strikers by the end of the summer. Don't mind if one of them is promoted youngster. Bad shout. Gareth says we need 2, to be fair. I would honestly start giving 10 minutes at the end of games to some of these youngsters and find out what they're about. Chris says, even with the Ivan Toney, enough with the Ivan Toney BS. We should have get Victor Osimhen in the summer and Gakpo in the winter. It's a big layout. Sam says, could maybe try João Felix. The João Felix one, I'm not sure where I stand on that. I'm not sure I'm buying what they're selling. Notch says, think we may see Hugo soon. Maybe. It's going to be very interesting in it to see where this all starts to play out. Louis says, need to ask Rio about the Ronnie situation on Vibe with 5. Rio's in a lot of contact with Ronaldo. Whether or not we get the full story out of him or there's some of it held back, I guess I don't know. Humble Nepali says, what are my 5 choices for striker that's available? Listen, we'll be doing that video this week, I'm sure. An IMO on Ronaldo out. Here's 5 options for us. I guess that's an option that we could look at before their prices start to rise during the World Cup. I think that'd be a good option for us. Stephen says we're a better side when he doesn't start. Can't disagree with that, to be honest. Felix has a £300 million release clause, says Ant. I think there's obviously the release clause is if it's activated then they're going, but I think that he wants out anyway, which wouldn't mean his price comes down. What's Igalo up to, says Chris. Is anyone else still holding out a little bit of hope that Igalo could do bits? I would be. Will the Glazers sell this year? I don't know. Adam says we don't have any money. I didn't think we had the money to buy Casemiro, so I'm going to shut up on what our budget could be. Chris says, this is a drama, but this is where Ten Hag leaves his first big marker. Most dominating performance yet in terms of style, and he wants to play, and he bombs Ronaldo out. Can't argue with that. Hang on. Abhinav Verma says, blame the Glazers and Ronaldo here. Could have had Gakpo in the summer. Well, we stopped him, didn't we, from going. I think he was very, very keen on going. And for whatever reason, the board stopped him going. In hindsight, that was a bad move. My thoughts on him, I don't think he was as big a problem as people was making out him to be last year, but I would have moved him on this summer. A lot of shouts in the comments for Welbeck. I'm not sure how many are serious and how many are taking a piss. There's literally people on both sides of that with Welbs. Peter Kelly says, I miss Igalo so much. The positivity, he always played with a smile. He was absolutely loving it, wasn't he? James says, thoughts on the new message from the Melts at Super League. Yeah, I want to see the guys working. He's like, European football's losing ground. Yeah, to fucking who, mate? Yeah, I was... Do you know what? Thanks for reminding me. That should have been an IMO that we could have done today. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, that Super League shit, they're trying to resurrect that. That's not gone away. They just shut up for a year. That's coming back. Ulrich says, nobody told Ronaldo. Eric's at the King at United. Wesley says, Glazers hanging around because there's talk of the European Super League starting up again. It wouldn't surprise me if they had a grubby little fucking finger in it starting up. Chrissa says, all the English fans think we should sign an Englishman in Tony. No, please. Dude can't even get a start for England. Don't judge him on that. Don't judge him on whether or not he could get a start for England. Just because Gareth Southgate's a fucking coward doesn't mean that there's English players out there that aren't talented. You know, there's definitely people that could do bits for us out there, I'm sure. Alex says Zaha is free in the summer. That's an interesting one. Abhinav says, honestly, when Ronaldo said the King during pre-season game, I was like, how dare you disrespect Cantona? Do we think Ronaldo thought it was going to play out like this? I can't sort of imagine where Ronaldo's not thick. I refuse to believe you are as analytical and on it as he is and thick. I know footballers got this reputation of being a bit dumb, but he must be aware of how this looks and how this is coming off. He's got to be, surely, right? Does he think he's good enough to start? Now, from what I hear, he wasn't too arsed about not starting. He was upset, obviously, but he thought he would just work hard and get back in the team. But it hasn't happened for him. So now I wonder, how does this play out for him? How does Ronaldo see this playing out from here on in? I can only see him leaving. And it's sad because he's probably the best player that's ever played at Manchester United. You know, you're talking about the greatest or the second greatest player of all time. No ifs, buts, or maybes. So he's probably the best player we've ever seen in a United shirt. And I don't like that it's ending this way, but it's definitely ending this way. Ant says maybe Ronaldo's finally gassed himself up with his own hype. Possible. Mayor says arrogant, overconfident Ten Hag. Can't agree with that one. Roche says Brian Brobby, new number 9. IR says if Ronaldo wants to get back into the team, he should do the opposite of what he's doing. Yeah. Mutual termination says Tyler Johnson. So yeah, so terminate or sell. What are you doing in January? Terminate, sell, or keep. What are we doing? Terminate, sell, or keep in January. And obviously the keep is probably based on whether or not we can get someone else in. If we can't get someone else in, it would be a keep. But terminate, sell, or keep. What are we doing? What do you want us to do? Terminate, sell, or keep for January only. Because I think no matter what in summer, he is gone. Terminate, sell, or keep. Terminate says Matthew. Sell says Lowry. Okay, but if you're writing sell, who's buying him? Who buys Ronaldo? Do a poll. I don't know how to do the polls while I'm live. Keep. Sell. Morata to United. Interesting. Keep. Oh, someone's done a poll. Superb. There we go. There's a poll there. Terminate, sell, or keep. Hit the buttons. See what you think. Fabio says Ronaldo is bigger than United. I absolutely disagree, my friend. I absolutely disagree. We are bigger than that bill. Terminate. Nobody is paying. PSG might be the one, you know. If they lose Mbappe, they could walk their league with Ronaldo up front and realise somebody's football manager dream of having Messi and Ronaldo, albeit old Messi and old Ronaldo, in the team at one point. MLS, yeah, maybe. They do have that thing, you don't they? Sporting Lisbon. There's a couple of shouts for Sporting Lisbon there. Someone's saying Blackburn Rovers. Not sure how real that one is. Vignac says Stretford Paddock. Listen, it pays 35 quid a month like everybody else does. $500,000 a week. We're a few members short of being able to pay for that, I think. Larry says PSG would do it just for the shirts. That's PSG and Chelsea are the only two that I could think would even contemplate it. I can't think of another club in world football that could do it. Not one. Ronaldo will come good, says Trigger. Have some faith. Out of any footballer on earth, I would have assumed Ronaldo could, but I don't know if that's a possibility anymore. I think it's probably game over for him. I don't see him going by anywhere. DJ Candle says stand by your players, keep him. That's an interesting one. He hasn't stood by the club there. That's very interesting. Nottingham Forest. They've just got rid of their recruitment guy, haven't they? So I don't know if it'd be that one or not. Someone says Fab's just tweeted again. Let's see what he's saying. United are backing Ten Hag's stance and his decision on Ronaldo. It's been decided by Ten Hag and approved by the board, as we expected. Wonder would Dortmund take him? Can't imagine they would, to be honest. Barcelona could pay. They don't know what debt is. Yeah. Sometimes you burn your bridges beyond repair, says Ant. I feel like that could have been what this is. John Ralph says Beck's grabbing for Inter Miami. That doesn't feel like the craziest thing. He likes Miami, doesn't he, as well? Yep. Okay. Right, listen, I'm going to leave it there. We got a preview out in the morning, talking United and Chelsea. Interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out, but I think it's end time. You know, I think we might have seen the last of Ronaldo in a United shirt. One last super chat here from Luan. He says, what is it that Ten Hag looks for from a striker, and particularly the pressing aspect? Well, pressing's definitely a part of it. Definitely a part of it. There's a lot more to it than that. And then It's a Duck says, if Ronaldo wants out, tell him he can go on a free. If he takes no pay, he just goes. If he won't take it, then he can ride the bench. A lot of people talking about that, or talking like that, I think. Listen, cheers for tuning in, everyone. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already. It really helps with being found. Subscribe if you're new. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the morning for the next one. And we've got an XG tomorrow afternoon as well if you want to come and join in with that. It might get weird. You know the drill. In the next one. Well, Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.